Welcome to Spilling the Tea with the YPB.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Unfiltered STEM podcast with the Wise Young Professionals Board. I am Bea and today we've got something really exciting, and that is I get to interview one-on-one with Lily Dobbs, who is a transformational manager at BT. She studied physics at University of Bristol. We're not judging here. I went to UE, but not going to hold that against you. And she joined BT in 2019 on the technology graduate scheme and now manages automation projects in network operations. So generally that's making the network experience quicker, smoother and better for everyone. I personally know Lily through the board. We've been in meetings, I think about once a week at least for the last year. And it's almost exactly a year since we met face to face. Actually, it is exactly a year today since we met face to face in Leeds, of all places.
Oh, I don't know. That's crazy.
It's like a very long time and a very short time all at once.
Yeah, what a year it's been. Yeah, love it.
So, getting straight into the questions. What are you drinking?
Tea, classic. Yorkshire tea. Yorkshire tea.
I've Earl Grey, 2 sugars.
I do like an Earl Grey. I have a little tea cupboard I've got all sorts. I've been having a lot of like Red Bush recently. Rooibos. This is not caffeinated, and I don't really like the decaf tea bags that you can get.
Decaf tastes a little bit weird.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, anyway, tea. I love tea. Yes, there you go. So that's cool.
One of the quick fire questions later on was going to be tea or coffee, and I nixed that because I was like, straight away, I know full well Lily is through and through a tea. You've always got a cup of tea, because I remember thinking initially you always looked really cold because you were always holding this cup of tea. That was like my first impression of the on-call chats.
I definitely get like cold hands and feet, and having a cup of tea does help. Especially when you're working from home. You don't want to have the heating on all the way through the winter. I mean, it's better today, but when you sat at your desk for like 8 hours and hours.
Yeah, I work in the office most of the day, and I have office blanket. And it was starting to get to the point where me and my colleagues were actually looking at a heated pillow and bringing in hot water bottles and hand warmers and all sorts of things. But yeah, no.
Amazing.
So you heard my first reaction of you thinking you were cold all the time. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
This is a tricky one. I would like to think that the top one would be, I try and be like kind and like empathetic. I think sometimes I can be a little bit too empathetic, and I can really take on other people's like worries and stuff. I'm a bit of a worrier. Actually, maybe that should be the first word. big old worrier, like overthinker. But no, the good side of that is that hopefully kind. I think the second one are probably more like work related. Curious, like I always want to learn new things. I'm definitely that person that like when you're watching something, I'm just like researching like where have they filmed this, or like who is this person, or like
you're on Wikipedia all the way through the movie.
Yeah. I don't know what this is about my attention span, but yeah, I love learning new things. Like, I read a lot, and like documentaries and all that kind of stuff. Love that. Big old nerd. So, and then what would the third one be? I don't know.
I would say, like, secretly, I think you're a bit of a savage. Like, you come out with the wittiest, like, because we meet every Friday, right? And every Friday, like, sometimes it'll just be the end of a really frustrating week, and we'll meet, and we'll have a brilliant time, right? Sorry, I just realised that people might be listening to this. I promise I do my work as well, but sometimes people have a lot of rant. But we will get on a call, and you will just like, I will go, this has really annoyed me, and you just will come out with something completely like out of the blue, and I'm just like, oh my god, and it's just some really like witty, really good comments. I love it. It makes me feel so much better as well.
So you gave me a lovely intro, but one thing I will say about doing transformation and change is that you have to, like, over the past few years, I've learned how to be, you just have to be blunt. Like sometimes you just have to be like. You just want to be like, okay, this is what's happening, and I'm not going to take any stick from anyone. So you just,
Good save.
I definitely used to be a little bit more you know, a little bit more like people pleasery and like, oh, if possible, would you be able to do this for me? And now like, this is what I need. This is why I need it. Let's go. Like,
Do it. So tell me a little bit about your job. So I gave a little bit of an intro to your job role. What brought you to the job role, and then why do you also stay in it?
So the job I currently do now, I had a bit of a wiggly path, as we sort of talked about. So I did physics, and I'd say that towards the end of my physics degree, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do at all, but I had quite a lot of experience through the degree of doing like science communication and working on like educational resources and working in schools, and I'd worked a lot with like young kids and stuff through that. And so when I was looking towards the end of my degree, I was like, I need a job. I refuse to stay and living with my parents for any longer than I need to. Not because I don't love them, they're brilliant, but I'm from the middle of nowhere and I really wanted to be, you know, a bit more where stuff was happening. So I applied for a job, and that's what I did. And I worked in a very small company. They made like ed tech resources and that kind of thing. But through that, I did a bit more coding. I did a bit more of sort of the IT side of things through that. And I was like, actually, I think this is what I want to do. If possible, I want to try and see what it would like to do software engineering, software development at a company. And I knew the only way probably to do that, because I had zero experience with getting on a grad scheme. So I applied for all sorts, and I hadn't really thought of like telecoms before I started looking at grad schemes, and a lot of the big places have really great grad schemes like Sky and Vodafone and all those. And obviously I applied for BT, and I applied for the technology graduate scheme, so it was quite like broad, and basically it was rotational, so we got to work in 3 different parts of the technology bit of BT. And one of those rotations I did get to do software engineering, so it worked out on what I wanted. But turns out that doing all that and having all that experience, I was like, actually, I like seeing it all end to end. I'd say that naturally I'm quite like an organised person. Like I like a good plan. I like seeing it all planned, like planning it all out. And I realised that actually that's kind of where my strengths lie. And I love all the technical stuff as well. But I guess a lot of the work that I've done has always been sort of like explaining technical and sciencey things more simply, and actually found when I was like working with different teams and like stakeholders and senior management and stuff, I was like, actually, I can do this. I can do this. So that's how I ended up doing the job I do now. And yeah, I mean, I guess kind of comes the job title, but the main reason that I keep doing it and that I always feel like I'm learning new stuff because it changes all the time. So that's why I keep doing it.
No, that's amazing. And it's also
always something new.
Given that we had a little joke about this earlier on, you're sort of like, if we were in the same sort of company, you would be my manager. You'd be like managing a project that I'd be working in, because I obviously work in software. But I think from my perspective, it's really good to have a manager who knows like they can back up their like asks and demands of the team with experience, and they know what they're asking, and they've got a really good understanding of that.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love the fact that you did the rotations as well. And obviously I know a little bit about you. We're just kind of sharing. Well, I know a fair amount about you, so we're just sharing this more a little bit. But yeah, I'm always really impressed by the work that you do. I don't know how you have time for all of it, if I'm perfectly honest.
No, you're too kind. I'm just often fairly busy, and then I suddenly realise, oh, I've said yes to too many things. What have I done? And then I'm just spinning all the plates. Sometimes they stay up, and sometimes they do not. But yeah, no, I really like all the stuff I do. That's why I do it all. But yeah, sometimes I do think it's quite a few things going. Yeah.
So this is a bit of a rogue one. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What motivates you?
I think it comes back to the learning, and also I guess, yeah, like self-development and like trying new things. I think especially over the past year, I've just been trying to like push myself out of my comfort zone like as much as I can, and just, yeah, I guess just like challenge myself and see what I can do, and prove to myself that I can do things that are scary and that I feel like I can't do. I'm like, no, you can. You just gotta try. Just gotta go for it.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. And yeah, as I say, there's always something new. You know, talking to new people, learning new stuff. I guess that is one thing I really like about working in telecoms and just with tech and like software and stuff more generally. I'm always talking to like great people that have loads of knowledge and always learning. So yeah. That's
Sorry,
what it is. Oh,
my cat is in the background and he's just, I don't know if we can see that. He's just reshuffling to get himself a little bit more comfortable. So what would, let's go back a few years, not too many years, of course. What would 5-year-old you think of the job that you're in now? Or the life that you've got now, actually.
yeah, this is a really interesting one because like whenever I go into schools, I always try and think about this because I think it's so easy, especially if you've worked in like something for a little while, just to get used to like number one, like all the words, but just like the idea of like what like what it is. And one thing I always think about is I literally didn't know like how the internet worked or how like mobile phones, like how that all worked until I like joined BT, and I was like, I should probably learn how this all works. And I think it's kind of crazy because especially now, like when kids are growing up, just like tech and that kind of stuff is just in their hands, like they're growing up with it. I mean, yeah. I mean, so did I, but I still remember the little dial-up noise on the like
The dial-up.
on the computer when you had to like go on and it went like and yeah, and also, you know, VHS tape, loved the videotape when I was a kid. So yeah, it's all crazy and changed so much, and wherever you are, basically you can get on the internet, can't you? Or you can take a phone call. And yeah, most people don't actually know how it works, like the technology behind it. And that was so fascinating to me when I joined BT. So I think 5-year-old me would have been like, what? Like, why are all these people doing that? Like, it just works. It's just magic, right? There's not like people behind like making sure it's all okay, but there is. Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing about network operations, actually, where I work, is that people are there like every single minute of every single day, even on Christmas Day, because, you know, people want to watch TV and play video games and stuff on Christmas Day. So somebody is monitoring the network, and there are engineers out in the field like fixing it. You know, when there's a power cut, we have to go and make sure that it's all working on like the backup generators and stuff. So there's always stuff going on all over the UK and globally. But so it's really cool, and I think it's just something that I would have never really even thought about. I think that's the cool thing about a lot of like sciencey and engineering jobs. Yeah. Often you don't know that they're there until you hear someone talking about them, or you know, something sparks your like interest or imagination. You're like, wait, but how does that actually work? Because you're just so used to it working.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I asked my dad. I must have been like doing SATs, so like primary, junior school level. And I said, "What do you think I'll work as when I'm older?" And he said, "The job that you'll do when you're older probably doesn't even exist yet." And I remember that kind of sticking with me because I was like, "Oh, wonder what it's going to be like." Like it was some sort of like, I don't know, luck of the draw, spin of the wheel sort of thing. But yeah, like it's cool to think of like the kids now, they're going to be moving into jobs because we're developing so much, we're changing so much, there's so much going on. I think it's cool that there are so many jobs that people go into and they've got no idea about them just yet.
Yeah. Very cool.
I also, when I was younger, thought that every time I Googled something, someone was there in, you know, internet land, whatever, going through a book and quickly trying to find it for me. when I was quite young, I want to preface this, but I never really
That's
gave it much
brilliant.
thought
Love
until I actually had
it.
to learn about it for my job.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, so obviously, no regrets in life at all. We're not gonna, is there anything you would change? We're not gonna ask that. But is there any advice that you would give to probably not 5-year-old you, but 10-year-old you that you wish you'd heard previously?
I think the main thing that I would have told younger me is that, like, I liked science and I liked all sorts of different subjects, but I never knew for sure like what I wanted to do. And I do remember being fed like, oh, if you're sciencey, you should be a doctor. But that was like the only
Mm,
thing that people ever used to say to me. And I was like, look, I am not really a fan of blood. I used to have a really bad thing with like sick, like being a little bit phobic of people being sick. And I was like, I don't
mm,
think I don't think I'd be a very good doctor. Even at the age of like 10, I could have told you like I
mm.
don't. That's not for me. And I'm not saying I would have been able to like get the grades and do that either. But yeah, I always felt a little bit like, well, everyone says I should do this thing, but I don't want to. Like I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. Um, and I think that apart from that, like as a thing to aim for, the only other thing that I really thought was like, oh well, I could be a scientist.
Mm.
Um, and I could like study like a pure science. Um, so yeah, I don't think it would have necessarily changed what I wanted to do, but I think it might have given me a bit more like clarity and encouragement that like just because I didn't want to do one thing everyone told me that I should, didn't mean that there weren't like so many other amazing possible options. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's what I always try and tell younger kids. And also the second one is that hardly anyone is magically good at maths. And there's definitely this like, I don't know, there's this weird like assumption that if you do science or something sciencey that you're like, oh, you're like amazing at maths and you can like do it all on your head and like you don't have to like write it down, you're like a maths genius, like this weird perception that we have. I think it's probably from the media mainly, but I did a physics degree and out of about 200 people, I'd say there's probably about 5 people there that could like actually do it all in their head and were like magically good at maths. And if you think about
See,
that,
that
like that means that means there's basically no one, hardly anyone at all that can actually do that. And if
mm,
at the age of 10 you say, oh, I'm not very good at maths, so I just won't do it, there would only be a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people doing sciencey jobs by the time they're adults.
yeah.
And yeah, that's what I'm always like, look, the only reason I ended up doing my degree and doing like getting where I am now is because I worked really, really hard. I was never like, yeah.
That's so reassuring to hear because I'm a firm believer, right? In relationships, there is one person who can do maths in their head and there is one person who cannot. And my partner happens to be very, very good at mental maths. Because I don't even start to work it out in my head, and they'll have just done it. Um, yeah, it's very strange. But yeah, there's also I can do it if you give me time, but
Yeah.
it's hard.
We have calculators for a reason, like but yeah,
Someone in
I'm
my
always that person that like write everything out, like all the lines of all the equations and like everything. And then someone else has just like written 2 lines and like got the same answer. I'm like,
See, I'm the person like in a restaurant trying to figure out the 15% tip or whatever, like trying to work it out on a calculator. Thank you everyone for listening. This is the 4th time I've recorded this outro. If you want to rate us, follow us, and let us know who else you want us to talk to, we would love to have your comments and feedback. Thank you so much, and we will chat next time. Bye.
bye.